Today I will be talking about environmental influences on criminal trends and patterns. In this presentation, I will be discussing environmental influences on criminal trends and patterns, media influences, family education, and weather all play a role when it comes to criminal influences. These slides will help explain how they all come together, how the weather triggers criminal behavior, how lack of education could increase the chances of becoming a criminal. Media influences, we will speak about violent video games, violent movies, violent postings on social media sites, and violent illustrations. I do have a graph that demonstrates the hostility level when children or young teens are playing violent video games. So the yellow bar shows the level of hostility before they play the video game, and then the red bar shows the level of hostility after they play the video game. But the bar is showing the game bloodiness of the video game. When it comes to social media, there are many things that can influence criminal trends and patterns. There is research that has been conducted to show the increase in hostility when it comes to playing or watching violent video games. We have so many young people who turn to social media when it comes to crimes being committed. There have been many incidences where young people have posted threats on social media, posting pictures of them holding guns or assault rifles, which does help officers figure out the reasoning behind such crimes. It gives them an outline. And we also have online bullying, where kids become extremely violent online, and they'll push another child because they can't do it to their face. And with violent video games and movies, they look at these things and what the media is portraying that it shouldn't be portraying. We should be influencing these children to rise above. But instead, with these gruesome video games and gruesome movies, they're giving these kids an outlook to think that it's okay to be violent and to be angry all the time, and it's not okay. Family influences. With family influences, you'll have criminal parents, lack of attention, abuse in the family, rapid family change. For example, a divorced woman or a mother who's constantly working and has to leave their child home during all these hours of the day just because they have to make ends meet. Families abandoned by fathers and family disorganization. The pictures that I have here is a picture of a broken family that it's saying stop, because so many children are being raised in broken families and it messes them up psychologically. And the second picture I have as an example is a father leaving his family, where every child deserves to be with their mother and father. Family factors in criminal trends and patterns shows how criminals are formed. If the family size is small, there is lack of attention that is given. For example, if it's just the mother and the child and there's no father around, the mother could be depressed, could be in a state where she's angry all the time, she can be on drugs, and they won't give that child that attention. Abuse in the family can lead to criminal trends as well. When growing up, they can choose to be abusive with their own family or others. Family disorganization factors is also included with family influences and criminal trends. You have to factor in fathers abandoning their families, mothers who are constantly working, children staying at home to look after themselves. With all these clustered in together, it could cause aggression, because when you're a child, you do not fully understand what is going on. So you may think that your father left because of you. The child could blame itself. and that can cause psychological issues, and that can cause them to not care and cause them to actually go out and commit a crime. With educational influences, we have lack of education, dropping out early, influences in peer groups, high IQs, low IQs, relationships with teachers, academic achievements, as well as school activities and involvements. Now this picture just shows you an example of emotional intelligence, intellectual intelligence, and spiritual intelligence. With lack of education, with educational influences, most criminals have low IQs because they're unable to become successful in, educationally, as well as career-wise. They're unable to find employment due to their lack of education. They dropped out of school early because of family issues, or they needed to get a job to help their mother or father with house stuff, with bills. Hanging out with the wrong crowd can also deteriorate the type of education that you're getting. If you aren't putting yourself in the classroom, or yourself in an influence group, whereas a positive influence group, then hanging with the wrong peer group can definitely take you down a wrong road. And that's what most of these criminals do. They start off very young. They start hanging out with these low life kids in school and think that it's okay to commit these type of crimes, when in reality they'll end up getting busted and they'll be all alone. I feel as though relationships with teachers is very important, because when you build that type of relationship with the student or with the teacher, that shows that the teacher cares about you furthering your future and furthering your education, therefore taking that step in a certain career path. With academic achievements, you have to look at it as receiving a diploma or receiving a degree. Working hard to get to become successful as you want to become, to not following footsteps where you drop out of school and you have no type of educational background due to the fact that you dropped out of school. When obtaining an education, it is important for teachers to obtain the relationships, as we spoke about, with the students, but most teachers do not try to obtain relationships, depending on the area of the school. One's influences around them, such as their peers, could have an effect. Peer pressure plays a role in education as well as committing crimes. Next, we will talk about weather influences. With weather influences, we'll talk about the warm weather, which increases on violent crimes. Cold weather decreases on violent crimes. They have more of petty theft crimes, such as robbery in the house or vehicle theft. The summertime increases homicide rates, and wintertime increases robbery and vehicle theft. Simple, non-violent crimes. Now over here, I have a sort of a graph. It's a different type of graph. It looks like kind of sort of a polygraph, and it's showing the violent crimes. The violent crimes in daily high temperature. So they start off in January, and those are the high temperature crimes, and then the red is the violent crimes. And as you see, as it gets warmer and hotter, that's the more violent the crimes become. Now, where I'm from, Philadelphia, in the summertime, that's when most of the homicide rates go up. In the wintertime, we have more assaults, rape. Those are all crimes that are very, very extremely dangerous. That also comes together when it comes to the criminal trends and patterns. Now, in the wintertime, most crimes aren't as violent. We don't really have homicides in the wintertime. Now, in the summertime, we have kids that are out of school. They gather in social groups. They go to parties. They begin the drinking. We have a lot of fights that occur in the summertime that could lead to violent gun crime. And those are our trends that these criminals tend to follow. It seems like weather plays into effect when it comes to criminal trends. The weather makes people aggressive depending on the heat index. So the summertime seems to be a crazy time for people. I don't know what it is, but it seems like it just triggers them. Like it triggers them to be aggressive. I don't know if it's because it's too hot or that's just when everyone just decides, hey, I'm going to start something today. And that concludes weather influences. The following page we have the references, the different websites, articles that I read based on this assignment. The first one is how social media is changing the way people commit crimes and police fight them. This article was very interesting because social media is changing ways that people commit crime. Some people are very sloppy when it comes to committing a crime and posting it on social media. If you want to commit a crime, why post it if you know you're going to get caught? There's so much technology out there where these officers and their technical people will actually figure out where you're posting from. The next article is the real root causes of violent crimes, the breakdown of marriage, family, and community. Now, this article was very interesting because it spoke about how broken families played a part when it came to criminal trends and patterns, and also a community. Because if you have neighbors and you don't get along with your neighbors, that causes a lot of issues and problems as well. Another article I read was how parents influence deviant behavior among adolescents. Analysis of their family life, their community, and their peers. So when it comes to this article, it speaks about basically how children model their parents' behavior. So if they see their mother getting beat on, depending if they're a girl or a guy, most men who see their mother get beat on, they tend to be women beaters themselves. Not all of them, but there's a percentage of them. That's where abuse plays a part in this article. And then the final article that I retrieved information from is Violence, Media Effects, and Criminology. Now this one really talked about the violent video games that I discussed in this slide. How these young children they're molding their minds to these violent video games, thinking that it's okay to hurt someone, to walk up to someone and just attack them, or for instance come to school with a loaded weapon. They think that it's okay just because they've seen it in a video game. Now these games that are being published, they should have an age limit on it. Even though most of them do have an age limit on it, these parents aren't monitoring what their children are playing. So this concludes my PowerPoint slide on environmental influences on criminal trends and patterns. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. My name is Elise, and hope you enjoyed the slideshow.